We'll be running for half hour.
Okay, so this is, well, hopefully will be the start of several videos I will be doing on different people who are buried in Cheltenham Cemetery, and that's Cheltenham Cemetery in Gloucestershire, England. There's some going to be based on the book that some of you already would have already read, which is Buried Past, Tales from the Cheltenham Cemetery. Others are going to be completely new stories and wouldn't have been heard by anybody or seen by anybody because they are recent finds. Well, recent to me is the last couple of years because I still haven't finished researching Cheltenham Cemetery. What you've got to realise about Cheltenham Cemetery is it was opened in 1864. It's got over 150 years history, and as of count there is over 64,000 memorials that they know of. Cheltenham Cemetery, let's see if I can show you this on here. This area here was the original area, and these two chapels were the original place where the services took place. Recently, this is opened, and this is a multi-million-pound complex that recently took place. I mean, when I was younger, this part of the cemetery didn't exist. It sort of came here, and then all this is in recent years. It's how fast it's got. Its population is it's thousands. I can't tell you how many people live in Cheltenham, but you know this cemetery is going to last for hundreds of years to come, and there is space for it to be expanded. These are the chapels. This is the crematorium here, and I think I've shown these photos before, but if anybody hasn't seen them, these are Victorian chapels. They were designed by a gentleman called William Knight, who we will discuss in a later video, but he is in the book if you haven't read it. And as you can see, the crematorium was opened in 1983, and it was, I can't remember how many...
1938.
What did I say?
83.
Oh, sorry, 1983. I keep saying 1983 now. I have my assistant with me.
1938.
Thank you. I won't say it again then. Beautiful black and white one here. And this is basically another view, and it shows you how many buildings are in the new area. You've got 4 buildings. The old chapels are still in use, and they are being used for purposes of wakes and a coffee place to drop in for coffee, tea, I suppose, that sort of thing. And apparently they have a licence for alcohol, obviously because of the wake section. Well, it's better than leaving them out of use, isn't it? So the first person we will be talking about in this new series is Claude Reynard Conder, and we're going to call him the Forgotten Explorer because he's been all forgotten really, because even in his lifetime he's been overlooked as well. And I think it's fair to bring his work to light. We're not going to do a full analysis of him and his work. We're just going to do brief extracts of what he did. And let's have a look over his photo, shall we? Let's have a look. This is Claude, a very striking Victorian gentleman here. So who was and what was Claude? Well, let's start with when he was born. He was born on 29th of December 1848, and he is actually a Cheltenham man by birth and in death. His father was Francis Conder, who was a civil engineer and a writer, and his mother was a lady called Anna Matilda Colt. His grandfather, who was a writer as well, and he was an advocate against slavery. So that was interesting. He was a highly educated gentleman. He spent several years in Italy when he was younger, before he entered the University College of London. He then went on to enter the Royal Military Academy at Woolwich. Now, in 1870, he officially became a lieutenant in the Royal Engineers. He was 21, as you can see, and this is his draft registration, and he actually entered the army on the 8th of January 1870, and you can see his birth date there. So, and we know his place of birth from this as well. As you can see, Cheltenham. Now, he was an interesting gentleman. So he'd been in the army 2 years, and he'd undertaken several courses in Cheltenham, obviously in engineering and things like that. And he was spotted, I should say, by a group called the Palestine Expedition Fund. Now, they wanted somebody to lead a expedition to Palestine to map out the area. Now, this had never been done before, and it was highly dangerous, and it would be highly scientific. And they needed somebody with all these sort of skills. They needed somebody who was a scientist. They needed somebody that could do mathematics. They needed somebody that could fight if they needed to. And they chose this young man. He was only 23 at the time, obviously. So he packed up his bags and he stepped into history. And basically, he's sort of come the Victorian era of Indiana Jones. That's what I call him anyway. So he arrives in the Middle East to start the geography, laying out the geography of the Holy Lands. When he got there, obviously, all they knew of the area was a mass of myths. They had vague biblical descriptions of the area and a lot of sketches that were inaccurate. Now, Conder led this team through brutal heat, malaria-infested swamps, and he had to go through territorial environments because a lot of people didn't want him there. Obviously, he was British, and at the time, Britain was conquering a lot of the world, basically. They said the sun never set on the empire at one point. So you can well imagine why people didn't want him there. But so anyway, he went, and this is what he's done. So the methods they used for mapping the area was a system called triangulation. They would set their surveying equipment up on high points to systematically map peaks to peak. They would map every valley, every ruin, and every water source. Now, Conder was an ingenious man. He was also very intelligent. So what he did, he talked to local guides in all these areas that he visited, and he learnt the local dialects to verify the ancient Hebrew and the Arabic names of the places, so he could link modern towns with their original named places, what they would have known, back then. Again, it would have changed again because of modern times, but at the time when he was mapping it, it was modern times. So there we go. So his job was also life-threatening because obviously people didn't want him there. And in July 1874, while they were surveying near a place called Seaford, and it's Seaford is in Seafed. Now, I'm not saying that I know that's how you say it because I'm no expert in languages. Anyway, so he was off in this area doing what he and his team needed to do when he and his team came under attack. Now, he sustained a serious head injury, which would leave him bedridden for quite some time, and they weren't able to send him back to England until October 1875. Also injured in this attack was Lord Kitchener, who at the time was Lieutenant Kitchener, and apparently they forged a lifetime friendship after this expedition together. Now, these are the maps. Now, Conder didn't actually finish the maps because Kitchener, obviously, because he'd been wounded. It was only a small area to do, but it was left to Kitchener to finish them because obviously he must have been lesser of the two injured, and his injuries obviously cleared up enough for him to finish mapping the area. So this is just one of the maps he did. And if you can see at the top, this is Palestine. And at the bottom, he has a small area for ancient Jerusalem. I think we're going to have one more map to show you. Yes, I have a map here. And this is Jerusalem, the modern version he did of the map. Now, so we know he went back to England, and while he was back in England recovering, he did a number of things. One of them was to prepare these maps for publication. The other was he got married in let me think, let me get to my notes for 1 minute. I am with you still, don't worry. Yes, he married on the 12th of June in Guildford, Surrey, and he married a Muriel Rachel Ford. Now this is an interesting name, how her name is spelled. It's not F-O-R-D, it's actually F-O-R-R-D. Nope, F-O-O-R-D, that's correct, yes. They went on to have 2 children, which I will show you in a minute. So he did resume work, but that wasn't until the May in 1878. But as I said, in the meantime, he did keep busy. He was writing, he was getting married, and this sort of thing he was doing. So when he was retained for work, he went back to Palestine, but he wasn't there not long because he was recalled to go to Egypt, which was undergoing a rebellion at the time. He was under the command of Sir Wolseley. Up on the screen at the moment, as you can see, this is him in 1881, and you can see his 42 Royal Engineers, his wife and his 2 children, and he has servants in the house, and you can see where they were all there. Because when he had his son, he was stationed in Scotland for a while, and his daughter, he was stationed in London. As I said, this is not a exact biography of his life, it's just as bits and pieces that we know about him. So back to where he was in Egypt, bringing down this rebellion. Unfortunately, while helping with the rebellion, he came down with typhoid fever, so he was sent back home again. So while he was back home, he again worked on bits and pieces. He worked on some more books, he worked on his literature skills, which he picked up quite a few over the years. Obviously you can see from his travels, he picked up quite a few languages from Egypt, Palestine, and a few different places that he'd been posted. In his time also, he became an ancient language expert. He translated Hittite inscriptions, but they weren't really taken seriously. But apparently they were correct, but people never took him seriously, which was a shame because he was a very intelligent gentleman, and a lot of his work in his time was ignored, and he's largely forgotten as he is today. Towards the end of his career, he became a colonel, and that was in 1904, and in 1904 he took his last commission, well not his commission, his last posting, which would be to Ireland to carry out a audience survey map of Western Ireland. And it was around this time that he, on the 2nd of November 1904, he finally decided to hang up his boots, as to say, and his adventuring, and settle back home in his hometown of Cheltenham with his wife and his 2 children. So now he's back in Cheltenham, and he actually didn't have a long, happy retirement, because I think it was just 8 years later. So let me think this, on the 16th of February 1910, that's about 8 years, isn't it, later, he sadly died of a stroke. And as I said, he is largely forgotten today, apart from this bit that I'm going to tell you about now. Right, sorry about that. I've been given instructions again to get my arm off the table. If you wonder what I was doing. I'm apparently knocking the camera, so sorry about that. So as I was saying, he was 61, he suffered a stroke, and he sadly died very early into his retirement. This is the map on the screen now of where he's buried in Cheltenham. He's buried within the site of the chapel, so he's quite easy to find if you know your way around these maps. Now, when I say he's largely forgotten, he is in circles of map making, Royal Engineers, etc. But he has come to the attention lately for all the wrong reasons, and that is because of Jack the Ripper theorists. They have decided that he is a good candidate for Jack the Ripper. Now, one of the reasons they've come up with is he was a personal friend of Charles Warren. Now, if anybody follows the interest of Jack the Ripper, they will know that Charles Warren was the police commissioner at the time of the Jack the Ripper murders in 1888. Now, that's not the reason they believe he's Jack the Ripper now. I've just got to swap over my book to tell you the reason why they think he's Jack the Ripper, because I have this in a different book. It's completely bizarre reasons why they believe he's Jack the Ripper. Now, so the theory is Conder and Warren were friends, and when they were in the Royal Engineers together, they took artifacts from King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. Now, apparently, Conder kept these artifacts in his home. This is basically the short version, so go and look this up yourself. What happened was Annie Chaplin, who was one of the victims of Jack the Ripper, somehow was in the house, most probably maybe working for him, I don't know. I haven't read the whole theory myself because it's ridiculous. And she stole these artifacts. Now, she knew the other women that were killed, and apparently they all benefited from these stolen artifacts. And I have no idea why, but Conder then took it upon himself to murder these women and I suppose get his artifacts back. And Warren knew this and took the secret to his grave, pretended he didn't know who Jack the Ripper was, and that was the end of the case. But please go and have a look at that for yourself, because there is a lot of theories on that, but that's just the short version of what I picked up on it. So that is the short version of the life of Claude Rayner Conder. It's if it's not one word, I keep forgetting another word, so sorry about that. And his map coordinates to his grave are plot B1 21 21. Should be easy to remember. Now, I thank you for watching, and I promise they will get better, because I'm sure this is a load of rubbish for a lot of people, this one was. And if you love hidden histories, stories from graveyards like this, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, which is the Dyslexic Explorer's Scrapbook. There you go. So thank you.